Okay, hey everybody, greetings from Chicago, Illinois. It's Paul Power here, bringing you Robert Nelson, and he is going to do an addendum to his book collection known as Keys. So we're going to call this Keys 73. It's an addendum, and it is April 10th, 2019. Take it away, Bob.
I'm getting closer to turning 70. I think I'll just say it's 30 instead. I wanted to take a little time this evening to bring out a little more info about my book, Keys, Love Letters from God, and to perhaps answer some questions that people have asked me before, and I can see they're valid questions and I'm willing to answer them. Just recently, I'm being prompted to ask, is the mic on? Is it working right?
Everything's on?
Okay. I was prompted one evening by the same presence that brought keys through me. I was prompted to check on Google about stellar or planetary alignments.
And just to clarify, I think you should say that was the creator.
Right.
You're talking about.
The source. Capital S source. Big source.
The big C.
Big creator. Or the big G. Anyway. I went ahead and Googled the year that I actually started letting keys come through me, which was in 1982, and the month that it started happening. And oh my God, on the very day that keys started coming through me, very first time, there was a planetary alignment known as the Jupiter effect. It's when the planets in our solar system line up and line out from the sun. Jupiter, for a long time, especially in European history, has been considered a representative for God. The biggest planet in our solar system. And the Romans called the king of the gods Jupiter, the Greeks called him Zeus. And then that lapsed over and even into our Christian religion, the idea that Jupiter would be some symbol for God. So it's like it hit me right between the eyes. This total alignment with the message coming straight through. Now.
So how was it again on that particular day? What was that day again?
March the 10th of 1982.
And how many planets did what?
9 planets aligned in the Jupiter effect.
All in a straight line, huh?
Before that, people were giving all sorts of doomsday predictions that, all those planets, when they line up, they're going to cause earthquakes on Earth and everything's going to go kaboom. Well, it didn't happen.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And you didn't even know about that till after the fact, right?
That's right. In fact, it was just less than a week, or I guess less than 2 weeks ago now, that I was prompted by God to look, it sounds strange, by God, to look in Google and check that time, and I did.
So you didn't even know about it until 2 weeks ago?
Right. I had heard of the Jupiter effect back in the 1970s. It was predicted to happen later, and did happen later.
Yeah.
Everybody was starting their doomsday predictions back then. But that's it. I just got to where I just ignored it. Just like I've ignored a lot of the Earth change predictions that Edgar Cayce predicted. No slight to Edgar Cayce. I really believe in the man. A lot of his prophecies have come true. There's some that haven't. But I guess I got to the point where I got kind of numb to the idea, so I just dismissed the idea of the Jupiter effect completely. This brings up what would be perhaps a first question. Well, if you started it in 1982, how did it happen in 1985? Very simple. I was working for the sheltered workshop in Lakeland, Florida, for the mentally handicapped. And I was asked by our director to come up with a testing tool, evaluation tool for our students. And I asked her, I said, well, isn't there something like this on the markets already? And she said, actually, no, there isn't. But if there was, it would be too expensive for us to afford. And because of your classroom experience, you should be able to come up with something like this yourself. You got 2 months. Well, I did it in 1 month. One lunchtime, as I was getting ready to get a yellow legal pad of paper, lined pad, and a pen so I could start putting together this evaluation system, all of a sudden I get this wonderful, I don't think really words do it justice, this wonderful feeling and a request. I was not ordered to do this. There was no command like booming thunder, you must do this or else. No. It was an invitation. It was a request. Would you be willing to? Those words exactly. And I thought, well, I guess, why not? So I sat with a legal pad and a pen in hand, and all of a sudden, words started writing through in cursive handwriting. Beautiful, beautiful cursive handwriting. I don't write cursive. No one can read my cursive. I can't read my cursive. It's that bad. I write in print all the time. I never write in cursive. And as this started happening, I noticed, okay, well, let's see. I think the next sentence should be A, B, C, D, E. While I'm thinking the words that the next sentence should be, a whole different sentence is writing out at the same time. That's not even what I'm thinking. At the same time I was thinking it. The session would last about half an hour. And then that feeling would withdraw. While they were happening, I felt like, and this is the best way I know to describe it, since I'm a Superman fan, have been since I was 9 years old. I felt like Clark Kent stepping into the phone booth and ripping off Clark Kent and, becoming Superman and flying out through the air. When the session was over, it was back to the phone booth and putting on Clark Kent's outfit again and being Clark Kent. Clark Kent's a great guy, no problem. He's a nice person. But it's a whole different feeling being Superman. And after the first 2 letters and the introduction, so there were 3 things that came through. The first 2 letters and then the intro. I don't know why it came through in that order, but it did. I wasn't the one directing it. I decided, I don't like the difference. I love how it feels when obviously it's God coming through. I don't love how it feels when he pulls back. And so I stopped the process. It was an invitation. There was nothing wrong with me deciding not to do it. So I folded up those papers, put them in my closet. In 1985, in fact, it was in April of '85, I was making my bed one day and I felt Michael's presence. You call him Saint Michael. By the way, Michael said the word saint doesn't apply to angels. It applies to humans and to animals, but not to angels. They're a whole different life form.
Oh, I never heard him called Saint Michael. Just for
Oh, I've heard it many
the
times.
Catholics don't call him Saint Michael. They call him Archangel Michael.
Okay. Protestants call him Saint Michael. And I was raised Protestant. Which is another thing.
At least we didn't. I don't know.
Hmm?
I don't know where that came from or who started that. But.
My family, well, as typical Protestants, angels have importance. They're messengers of God. They can be guardians and protectors. But that's it. The real importance is Jesus and God. And yet I met Michael when I was 4 years old. And he's been with me all my life, sort of. He's been a teacher of mine this life, just like he was 2,000 years ago when I lived in Judea. Now, in April of '85, he came to me and I felt his presence, and he said, and I normally don't hear words in my head or anything, but he said, get ready, in a couple of months you're going to be doing what you're about here. And I said, okay, Whoopi. And he said, something wonderful is going to happen. And I said, that sounds like a line out of a movie or something. He said, all right, something amazing is about to happen. Are you happy now? And I just didn't answer. And then he said, turn your radio on. I'll show you what I'm telling you is the truth. In a few minutes, the announcer will interrupt the program and make an announcement that NASA has discovered a white dwarf star in your sector of the galaxy, which is a very rare phenomena indeed. And then he followed that up with, by the way, it wasn't there before I just told you. At that point, I'm thinking, OMG. If this is real, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now. I did then too. I turned the radio on, finished making my bed. All of a sudden, the announcer, in about 5 minutes or less, comes over the radio and interrupts the song to say that NASA has an important announcement they have just discovered, and you guessed it, just like I said, word for exact word, that Michael said, without the part of it not being there first. In July of that same year, '85, I met a friend who helped me work with keys. I had done some channelings of Michael for him. In one of the channelings, Michael said, have Bob, have my son, that's how he refers to me, check in his closet and find some folded up papers from 1982 and show them to you. Well, I told the guy, I said, look, after you go home, I'm going to go check, see if I can find them even. My closet was the kind that you want to fill out papers to your next of kin before you open the door. I used to tease my Westie, John Boy, dog, White West Highlands Terrier. Hey John, I think I'm going to go in the closet now. I better write my will to you. And he'd give me snort like that. He wasn't very impressed. Anyway, sure enough, I found the papers. Next day, my friend comes back over after I get home from work. I showed him the papers. I said, here. He unfolds them, starts reading, and starts gulping and gasping and crying at times. Then he says, you know who this is? And I said, yeah, God. And then he says, oh yeah, so nonchalant. Yeah, God, like there's nothing to it. At that point, my friend wouldn't leave the house that evening until I promised to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and see if anything would write through. So to get rid of him, I promised. I didn't tell him I was going to cheat. I got a piece of art paper, really rough, And instead of a pen, I got a pencil and really sharpened the heck out of it. I knew the friction wouldn't let it move. But I could honestly say I tried and nothing happened. I didn't want to go back to that Superman Clark Kent syndrome. So I'm sitting there expecting nothing to happen at all. I knew it couldn't. And then the pencil starts writing effortlessly like there's no problem whatsoever. It was a two-liner. Glad to see the two of you got together. You may continue this project if you are willing to. God. My friend comes back over the next day when I get back from work, and I show him the paper. I said, there's nothing to it. It's only 2 lines, nothing to go on. So, but here. I said, I kept my promise. He looked at it and said, yeah, this is plenty. He says, we can continue the project. And then he said, why do you use this kind of paper? And I just looked at him and looked away, and I didn't answer. Well, that day is when keys picked back up like there had never been an interruption at all. And for 7 days a week, 3.5 months, keys at first came through in writing like it originally had. My friend standing behind the couch where I was sitting, gasping and crying some of the time. Heck, I was crying some of the time. It was so beautiful. And it just kept on writing like there was no problem. Then, and the same phenomena with me thinking of what sentence should be next. And while I'm thinking that very sentence, a whole different sentence that I'm not even thinking is going through me. This is writing through me instead. Now, after about 2 weeks, my friend said, you know what? I've been taking these papers home and typing them up. I can read them easily. They're great. It's beautiful cursive. And I said, no. He said, why don't you try letting God speak through you? And I looked at him and I said, are you crazy? I said, this is what they put people in rubber rooms for. And he said, well, it's like a computer. You can program a computer to give you output in lines of data on a sheet of paper, or you can actually, if you have the right hardware in there or software in there, you can have it respond in voice. And I said, well, I'm not a computer. And he said, look, we both know you're not crazy. We'll monitor the progress. If anything seems questionable, and I interrupted him, I said, we'll quit the entire project, or I don't do this. He didn't like it, but he had to agree with me, so after about 20 or 25 minutes, after I could relax enough, God began speaking through me. The same quality. Everything, nothing, like, no difference. And so my friend tape recorded it. And every day he would take the tapes home and type them up into his computer. So that's why Keys didn't get finished until 1985. It has been copyrighted. I copyrighted it in 1986. Another question I hear from people, well, why haven't you published it? Why haven't you done anything with it till now? Well, originally I got a publisher lined up, a local publisher. She was going to publish it in segments in a magazine that she put out and see how it would be taken by people, and then see about maybe doing it on a book form or contacting someone else who would. I kept trying to get a hold of my friend because he had done work on typing the book in, and his name was on the title page with mine. He wouldn't return my calls. After a month and a half, I wrote him a letter. I gave him a timeline. I don't remember what the date was, but I said, I'm not trying to pressure you, but you've not returned my calls or anything, and I don't feel right about publishing without checking with you first, since you put a lot of work on the book. And I said, so if I don't hear from you by whatever the date that I set, then I'm going to assume you're not interested and I'll publish. He wrote me a letter back. Mr. Robert Nelson, if you publish Keys as it is right now, I will sue you in a court of law. I don't want my name associated with the book. Take my name off the title page and send me a copy of it without it. I did. He apparently thought it was okay and sent a letter back saying it was all right. Frankly, I could have published anyway and he wouldn't have had much of a case. But I wanted to try to be nice. I usually try to be nice with people. I feel better about myself when I do that. The publisher got cold feet at that time. And I remember thinking, if this is the kind of world Keyes is being born into, birthed into, then maybe it's not for this world at this time. I always knew I wasn't the one to publish it. It's a shared effort. Keyes is all about sharing. It's a shared effort. And I knew it had to be for a later time. I didn't know exactly when. But since humanity is at a turning point now like it hasn't been in its entire collected history, this is the time. Originally I thought maybe it will be after this world goes to hell in a handbasket and humanity starting all over again. If there are any copies of Keyes left, it can give humanity a better faith than the ones it's had. Because believe me, most of your religions can be turned into, if you don't believe the way we think you should believe, the way our God says, our God doesn't love you, and we don't either, and we can do anything to you we want. And that's for shit. And that includes Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, atheism for that matter. Every fucking belief system on the world has these flaws in it. They don't impress me. And like it or not, people, I am the second coming. My Hebrew name was Yeshua ben David. Yeshua of the house of David. Or Yeshua bar Yosef. Yeshua son of Joseph. The Greeks turn it into Jesus. My name now is Bob. I'm not living my life 2,000 years over again. I'm living this life. But this is a new contact node point. N-O-D-E point. This is where we're going to determine the rest of this world's history, and hopefully, by God, it's going to be better than the crap we've had before. Keyes has the potential to replace every religion on the face of the earth with relationship, which those religions should have brought in the first place. A relationship with the living God as the living God. It means being God. And by the time you get through Keyes, you're the Christ. Yeah, I'm the second coming. I'm the Christ. But you can be the second coming and you can be the Christ, because believe me, Christ was not my last name. Jesus Christ is a falsehood. The Hebrew term would have been Mashiach, Messiah, Deliverer, and I botched that up real good too. The Greeks have a term they call Christos, Christ, meaning anointed one, anointed by the indwelling Spirit of God. It's up for grabs. It's for everyone, people. And this is the time now when it's time for Keyes to start getting out to people and getting its sea legs under it, so to speak. So, these are some questions that I have faced before with people and that I've faced with myself as well. And I wanted to be honest with you about them like I have tried to be honest with you all along. You may not approve of some of the things I say, that's up to you. But I'm not here to make you happy. If I thought I could make you happy, I'd be on a hell of an ego trip. I can share the enjoyment and happiness in my life with you. You can share the enjoyment and happiness of your life with me. But I can't, presto changeo, make you happy. You can't do that for me either. It has to be shared, or it doesn't exist. Yes, I guess I am. Somebody's thinking this. I'm a frustrated preacher, yeah. Frustrated by how things have gone in my name. Frustrated when I look at humanity and I see such a beautiful race with such amazing potential. More than the most advanced ET races that you could ever run into. I mean, people, if you knew what you have, what you're capable of, you'd say you're a bloody miracle. But when I see some of the treachery, and I'm not even going to go into it because it would depress you as well as me. I'm not here for that. It makes me sick. And when it's happening in my name, it makes me sicker still. Hear that, Vatican? You have the potential to be such healers, teachers, and messiahs. And if you play your cards right, you will be. It's not determined that you will be. It's your choice. Not even God can decide that for you. It's not predestined. You can choose to be Christ. I don't care if you're Buddhist or Muslim or Hindu or Christian or Hebrew. You can choose to be Christ. I'm not saying choose to be Jesus of Nazareth, okay? Get it? I'm saying you can choose to be Christ. I'll tell you a little secret. The 72 letters in here, by the time you read the last one of them, you're there. And you won't think the same way you used to. You'll lapse at times, of course you will. That's just natural. But you won't stay there. You'll get back to the truth again because you owe it to yourself and those around you. Christ is up for grabs. I guess that's about it about keys right now.